Okay, welcome to another rowing coaching video. I'm shooting this movie in the middle of November as we in the US, in some areas of the country, are switching over from the fall racing season into winter training. And typically what that means is a bunch of workouts on the rowing machine, lots of on the land training. And so I wanted to put together some thoughts about 3 core workouts that you can use to help with your training. It is also possible that you're just getting into rowing for the first time and the world of indoor rowing. Typically over here in the US are indoor rowing competitions on rowing machines. The distance is 2,000 meters typically, and those events take place in January and February. So if you're thinking about wanting to compete or get on that circuit, or maybe even if you're in a CrossFit type competition, here are 3 workouts that you can use to help with your development on the rowing machine. So here we go. The first point I want to make is it is very important to warm up before each of the workouts that I'm going to suggest. The workout should be about 10 to 15 minutes of rowing. During that rowing, you want to be making sure that you're rowing well and technically well. So always be turning the brain on in terms of body awareness, how you're moving, and so that you're moving with the greatest amount of efficiency and moving in a way to create the greatest amount of power or torque on the rowing machine. During these 15 minutes of rowing, you want to be throwing in 4 20-stroke bursts. I would typically start at the low rate, 20 strokes per minute, create as much power as you can at the low rate. A lot of beginning rowers fall into the trap of thinking, well, I only need to pull hard at the high rate. Not true. You've got to be making sure that you're rowing hard and creating torque at the low rate. And really that's the bedrock of creating power at the higher rates. So my suggestion is within this 15 minutes of rowing, 20 stroke bursts, 4 of them should do 20 strokes per minute, 24 strokes per minute, 28 strokes per minute, and 32 strokes per minute, with about 2 minutes of paddling, good technical rowing in between. So very, very important to make sure you're warming up before you do these workouts, and also to stretch. This video is not going to go into stretching, but hopefully you have a good routine in terms of developing hamstring and hip flexibility, among other things. It's also important to take into mind that you want to cool down after these workouts, particularly after workouts 2 and 3, which are going to generate a lot more lactic acid or lactate in your physiology. So flushing that out of the system is really important. Typically, I would advocate a cool down of anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes of rowing, just real light, again, focusing on the technique, flushing that lactate from your system so that you're ready to row and have a good practice on your next day. So without much further ado, here is workout number 1. Workout number 1 is your basic aerobic base work. Typically rowers are going to spend a lot of time at the lower intensity developing your aerobic capacity and your ability to clear lactate from your system. This workout that I'm recommending is 2 21-minute pieces. The heart rate range, you're going to do these in about 65 to 70, 75% of your max heart rate. So if your max heart rate is 200, then you want to be doing these around about the 150 beats per minute. Important to be looking at that heart rate as a good training zone, a good indicator that you're in the right zone here. The goal of these workouts isn't to go crazy, it is to develop good base endurance, and that's why they form the bedrock of your training. In this particular workout, I'm recommending, as I said, 2 21-minute pieces with 3 minutes rest in between. In the first piece, you're going to start at 16 strokes per minute for 7 minutes. The next 7 minutes are going to be 18 strokes per minute, and the final 7 minutes are going to be at 20 strokes per minute. Again, 3 minutes rest, and then the next piece is going to be 18 strokes per minute, 20 strokes per minute, and then 22 strokes per minute for the last one. If you're more of an advanced rower, you could do this 3 times with 3 minutes rest, maybe even 4 times if you're at that level. But I think 40 minutes is a good start point to develop that base endurance. And so I present this to you as sort of a basic training. You can vary this up. You can make it 4 15-minute pieces. Again, break it up into 5-minute segments in those 15-minute pieces. But really, I would recommend breaking up your steady state, not taking too much rest in between them, 2 minutes, 3 minutes max. You want to keep that training effect, but I think it helps to break up the long rows into pieces that you can manage and reset from in between. Yes, you can row, an hour long. I guess there's nothing really tremendously wrong with that, but it is for the older athlete, tougher on the back, so I think it's helpful to break things down. So always be mindful of how you're rowing on these pieces. Turn the brain on. Be thinking about how it is you're taking the catch, how you're driving through the legs, loading up the hips, when you're opening up the body, where your finish for release position is, how you are separating your hands from your body on the recovery, setting the body from the hips, getting the early body prep on the recovery, and then being controlled on the slide. There's 5 or 6 different points, and if you spend a minute or two thinking about these different things, this 21 minutes are going to fly by. There's really nothing worse than rowing lots of empty mileage and having your technique get worse over the winter. So really just turn the brain on this aerobic work and don't just do it mindlessly. Workout number 2 here in this 3 core workout video is an anaerobic workout. The anaerobic workout that I'm recommending here is 6 500-meter pieces. These are maximum efforts, so definitely want to make sure you're warming up very thoroughly and cooling down after this workout. These 500-meter pieces are max efforts. There's no real suggested rate cap, but I think you're going to be effective in the 28 to 32 strokes per minute range on these, really loading up the power, maxing out, then taking 7 minutes of rest. That's a lot of rest for the work time. It's about a 1 to 3 work to rest time ratio, but I find that if you give yourself time to recover between each piece, you're going to end up with 6 quality pieces. As far as the consistency of the pieces concerned, I would recommend that you be consistent on each of these 6 different pieces. I would not recommend trying to make the first 2 amazing and then just recover for the next 4. If you're relatively new to rowing, you can scale this down to 4 500-meter pieces. If you are more experienced in rowing and need more of a challenge, you can make this 8 500-meter pieces. So I merely just pick 6 as a sort of mid-range start point, but you're really driving the heart rate up. Your heart rate should be 95% of max, really going for it. Lots of quality, continuing to think about your technique, not just trying to hammer away at the machine. Always think about developing power efficiently. But this is a good workout. I wouldn't recommend doing this all the time. This would be once a week, I would think, to do this kind of thing if you're doing 4, 5, 6 days a week training. And also the day after this, I wouldn't recommend going tremendously hard. I would pick another lower rate intensity workout, much like workout number 1, and just really listening to your body and making sure that you're pacing yourself and getting your recovery on base. So definitely cool down after this one, and definitely a tough one, but you're going to see gains on the 2K by doing this short, very high intensity work, really driving the heart rate up. Workout number 3 is anaerobic threshold. Anaerobic threshold is just about the point where if you went a little bit harder, you couldn't sustain that momentum. And so the heart rate's going to be somewhere in the 80 to 90% of your max. You're working hard on this. Typical race distances or piece distances are between 6 to 10 minutes. In this particular workout, we're practicing the 2,000 meters. The 2,000 meters is broken up into 4 different 500-meter segments. I'm recommending 6 to 8 minutes of rest in between. The protocol for this, what I'm recommending is, let's say, for example, that you have an 8-minute 2K, so that would be a 2-minute split for that personal best. And so just kind of figure out what that 500-meter split is for that 2K. And then for the first 500 meters of this 2,000-meter piece, you're going to add 12 seconds to that. So if you're a 2-minute split for 2K, then you're going to make that a 2:12 split and row 500 meters at the 2:12. And then And for the next 500 meters, you're going to go at a 2:10. For the next 500 meters, the third 500 meters, you're going to go at a 2:08. And then you're going to try for the last 500 meters to go at a 2:06. If you can't hit the 2:06, that's okay. I think the important thing to make sure that you're doing is you're getting faster as you're going, and still working on that consistency and that control. And I would take 6 to 8 to 10 minutes rest in between each one of these 2,000 meter pieces. Not much more than that, because you want to keep the training effect in the right place. But this is a great anaerobic threshold workout that really helps build that 2K pace. And again, cooling down for a good 10 to 15 minutes after that is going to set you up for recovery and a good next day of training. So, now you've seen these 3 videos. I do have a 12 session, 3 sessions a week for 4 weeks. These are workouts that I have been found success with. They're proven workouts. They're the workouts I would give to my athletes to help them towards success on the indoor rowing circuit. I'm selling these for $25. So if you're interested in looking at more workouts, you need a little bit more creativity and variability in your training, definitely email me at neil@coachbergenroth.com. And obviously you're under no obligation to buy these, but I offer that to you to help add value to your training. So in conclusion, periodization is important. Again, I think a lot of your work is going to be done at the low intensity, and then you're going to sprinkle these workouts 2 and 3 in. I would say recommending a 3-to-1 ratio. So 3 of your workouts are going to be longer and lower in intensity, and then you're going to pop in a higher intensity workout, then come back down to your base work. Again, I specialize in creating programs that fit the athlete and making sure that I'm creating the right amount of work, not too much, not too little, and that's really the skill of a good training plan. So I've been thinking a lot about these plans, and be happy to help you on your training journey. So if you would like a free consult or want to talk to me a little bit about your rowing journey or how I can help, or just kind of want to share some feedback on these workouts, let me know if they've added value to your training journey. I appreciate you watching the video. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so. If you've found that I've created some value for you, appreciate some feedback, like the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and let me know if I can help in any way. Thanks.